Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast. My name's Tom Robinson. I'm your host, and sitting directly across from me is my co-host, Bob Walz.
Tom, it's great to be here as always.
You're
always. Looking great today.
Thank you. I feel great today.
You are having a great day. It's the best day of my life.
It is. And what a great podcast we had last week.
Oh, wasn't that? I think that was our Oprah moment.
It was
what it was.
It was really great until the one we have today, of course.
Well, they just get better and better. The show is just moving up exponentially.
So remember last week we had the folks from Mutual.
Yeah, they were charming. They were terrific. It turned out that the guy who started, his daughter was my student.
How about that?
Yeah,
That's
small world.
Cool. Very small world.
But the thing I found interesting about that is when we were talking with them, their reasons for creating Mutual were the same reasons that we created It's Just Dinner.
Yeah, very exciting.
So they're geniuses.
Yeah, they just want to match people together and get them to go out to dinner.
Yeah. But they use technology. We use the old-fashioned way of just talking to people face to face. Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I learned from them that I really liked was she said, "Keep swiping."
Yeah.
And if you don't get connections or you don't find anyone,
just keep at it. Just keep after it. And that's kind of our same philosophy too, of just keep going out to dinner.
Right.
Just keep trying. Just keep having conversations. Don't make your intent to have a long-lasting relationship. Make your intent to meet somebody and have a conversation.
Have a great time. So
now, the other thing I wanted to bring up about them that I thought was really fascinating is the amount of time they spend verifying accounts. So they have an individual, a human being, that goes and looks at every account and verifies it to make sure that it's authentic.
Great.
That's amazing.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
And that way you know who you're getting a date with.
Right.
So that's great. Hey, I forgot to introduce our engineer.
Oh, yeah.
This is Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
Lauren, how are you?
Hey, this is really exciting, the show we have today. I'm really excited about it.
Yes.
And my students told me about this. And Lauren is a former user.
Get out.
That is true.
So
right here in the house, we've got a user.
So hopefully our guests can talk to her a little bit about her experience with this.
Let's hope it's good, because it'll be an awkward moment.
This is an Instagram sensation.
Right here on the It's Just Dinner podcast.
Right here. I hope he's not embarrassed by that. This is from the Instagram page Matchmaker Provo.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our guest, Kasen Stephensen. And Kasen, we're really glad to have you. Kasen is the creator of the Instagram page. And right now, at this very moment, he's a junior over at Stanford.
Really?
Yeah, and he's, believe it or not, studying management science and engineering. I thought that was interesting.
Yes, it is. So he's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. I don't know if we'll be able to keep up with his conversation today.
We can try. We'll use big words.
The good news is he's engaged to get married, so his app must work.
Oh.
Okay.
So he's made a connection.
Oh. And so is he doing a similar thing over at Stanford?
Well, no, let's ask him.
Yeah.
Kasen, are you there?
Is that where Stanford is?
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
We're very excited to have you here today. Why don't you tell, since Bob doesn't know anything about this app?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Or this Instagram page. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Instagram page is, how it got started, what your idea was behind it? So go ahead. Tell us what you know about this.
All right, sounds good. And thank you for the intro. So I'm a student over here at Stanford, and the idea for this app, just to give you some context, it's called Matchmaker Provo. It's not anything new. We have a fun survey that you take, and then we take your survey responses, and from our pool of users, we match you with one other person. And we have, so instead of it being like a continuous basis, right, it's like you have one day where we have like a match day and all the matches released. The way we came up with this was during the pandemic year, actually. A bunch of my friends out here, we all got sent home, and we all decided to move to Utah to go enjoy the dating culture and explore a bit.
Surprise, surprise.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
It was super fun, and it was successful. I ended up getting engaged. But in the beginning there, we faced a lot of frustration, and it was very interesting. Maybe we can dive into that later, but it was just interesting diving into the Provo dating culture. And one of the things that frustrated me was that it felt like all of the means I had to meet people during that time were very superficial, very looks-based. And I thought it'd be interesting if we could dive into connecting people based off of their personalities rather than their physical attractiveness. So I remember I proposed this idea, and all my friends, they all came over to watch a movie, and we ended up pausing the movie and talking about this idea for the rest of the night. And within a month, we had built the first, prototype or first software for the first round. And it started out being something funny, right? Like we thought it'd be interesting. We expected maybe like 1,000 people to sign up, but I think we had about 1,000 signups in the first day and had close to, I think, a little more than 3,000 in the total and in the first round. And so we were really surprised. We loved that. People loved it.
Well, and so now by superficial, just so I have a clear understand that, what you found was that people were selecting people they date based only on looks.
Right. Yeah. I found it interesting that like we'd come over to people's houses and we'd sit down and we would sometimes we would just swipe on people and we would judge them based on their looks, which is like super important. But I found that like, I guess it felt weird to me thinking that people were doing that in other places, right? But like looking at my profile. So it just felt kind of like, I don't know, it just made me feel
judged.
Yeah, I felt judged. Maybe,
believe it or not, they do the same thing in class and at church.
Yeah.
Well, they swipe a lot in church.
But I see what he means by being superficial,
Yeah.
and this is an important point, that many times your relationships become much deeper once you start to identify the things you have in common.
Right.
And many times people never go that far because they only get caught up in the superficial part about how you look. And so it sounds like what you were doing is trying to kind of jumpstart that and move people past the superficial to more of a relationship.
Yeah, I would say that's correct. And at one point I want to add that I think that the physical attractiveness is extremely important in relationships. And I think where I saw the problem was feeling judged, and also in that first encounter with someone that you met online, for example. I think you can tell within like a second if you would have clicked in real life. So we just wasn't getting enough information off of the app, right? So that was just another frustration we had.
That's one of the things that with kind of this whole It's Just Dinner thing developed, was to just go and sit down across from each other, eat dinner, and talk. And just see if there's any kind of connection. But more importantly, just talk and have fun getting to know someone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's cool about your Instagram page, is that it gives people a chance to see if there's any kind of match there going on, if they have anything in common to talk about.
Mm. So you got up to about 3,000 people who were registering on your site. Was that what I heard you say?
Yeah, that's correct. We had about 3,000 people, and they registered on our site, which included taking at the time it was about a 70-question survey.
Wow, that's a lot of questions. It's probably fun. They're probably fun questions. Well, we can ask Lauren, because you took that, didn't you, Lauren? Was it fun? Did you answer all 70 questions?
I did.
Did you answer them honestly?
I tried to. I mean, if it's gonna work, you don't want to get matched up with the wrong wrong person. So I think Lauren has some of those questions. Yes.
Do you mind if we go through a couple of those questions?
Sure.
So these were ones I ended up taking it again for this next round. That's gonna be like official in the next couple of days, right? And so these were some of the questions that I just thought were either funny or like were just kind of interesting that I wouldn't have thought about beforehand. So the first one, adulting is easy for me. These are on like a scale of like I strongly agree or like to I strongly disagree. Or like the equivalent, depending on the question.
How did you rate that one?
That one I a little bit agree more than neutral.
Okay.
So I'm pretty good at adulting. That's kind of how I felt.
Kasen, while she's reading, I'm just curious, where did these questions come from? So as she reads these off, jump in and tell us. So what about adulting did you want to find out from people?
Yeah, I can give you my hypothesis. One of my other team members was responsible for coming up with the questions. I helped brainstorm a little bit at the end, so I can give you maybe some like ideas. I think this one was to get a sense of responsibility, I guess, or responsibility, maybe in a sense like maturity,
right?
But mainly just to give people like a chance to think about like, what is this like being an adult now that we're 18 or whatever at college.
What else you got, Lauren?
Okay, so this one, I prefer doing things I know I'll like as opposed to trying new things that are out of my comfort zone. And with that one, like I disagreed more. I think when I first took this test, I probably would have been like neutral or like agreed. But like, I mean, it's been a whole year and I'm a different person. And
you're more adulting.
I'm more of an adult.
I've noticed that. Haven't you noticed
I
that
have.
since we've
She's
been
grown
this?
up a
Yes,
lot.
She has. She was just a
Shucks.
kid when we first
You
met her.
guys. But yeah, like I just thought that was interesting because it's like it really seems to show me that like are you adventurous? Are
Right.
you going to like want to keep growing, or are you going to be the type of person that, you know, in 15 years or whatever, you're just sitting on the couch
Doing
every
the
night
same
doing
old
the
thing.
same thing.
Yikes.
You know, like
Yeah.
That hit a little close to home.
Yeah. Well, us old people, you know, what else can we do? Okay, next question.
I thought this was funny. What of these words are you comfortable using? And it has like on the side of like heck and darn all the way to like other, you know, more explicit type language. And I just
Okay,
thought that was
Kasen,
so
jump in on
funny.
that one. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I think it's a way of judging, I guess, how they feel about certain like social norms, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I guess like how comfortable they are with swear words, which is something that I noticed. Like, there's a lot of variation with members of the church, and so I think that was like a way for us to kind of just tell like what people are comfortable with. I think that's something that would lead to being compatible, or something that would lead to compatibility rather.
And that's very interesting because it's a cultural thing, but it's also an attitudinal thing.
Yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I do too. Because, you know, I grew up in a culture where the F word was commonly used. So when I hear it, it's not shocking to me. But when my wife does, it's like, you know, you've killed baby Jesus. You know, and so, you know, it's interesting to see the difference between people's acceptance and tolerance rate. And that tells you a lot about people, because sometimes you want to go to activities. For example, going to a comedy club, you know,
Right,
if it's
right.
like dry bar comedy or something like that, I'm perfectly fine with that. But even my wife thinks that's a little bit too edgy. And so it would be nice to have that common thing so that you kind of knew when you picked an entertainment venue what the person you're dating is comfortable
Right.
with.
Well, and like, I mean, like a common date is watching a movie, right? So
Yeah.
it's like along those lines, like entertainment and things. What kind of things are you
Yeah.
going to be okay with watching? And are you the type of person that you only watch G-rated movies?
Right.
Yeah.
Or, you know, where are your boundaries? And I think that it's cool that like it shows enough respect too with that. It's like, oh, like we don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Right. Kasen,
It's
so
good to know ahead of time.
Yeah, so the idea to match people who had similar, they were similar on one side or the other, or were you separating people like that, like Bob and his wife?
Don't separate us, but you know, I'm not, we're happily married. I want you to know.
I think, yeah, it depends on the question. Yeah, definitely depends on the question.
Okay, and now would you do a similar thing? I don't know if you had any questions on there between. So this is the one I get all the time, between caffeine use, because I find some people in the church who think that the slightest bit of caffeine, even in chocolate, will send you right down to hell, and other people are really comfortable with the high amounts of caffeine, and so see, that's kind of another one. Did you have any question like that in there?
I think we did. I don't know if it was geared specifically towards caffeine, but we had one, I think, with soda on like the far end. That's something that we've heard as well.
Very
So it's
cool.
capturing that same like thing.
Very cool. Lauren, what about one more?
Okay. I liked, let's see. Heated disagreements are an inevitable part of a normal relationship.
Huh?
Do you agree or
Agree
do you
or
not
disagree?
Agree? Yeah.
Wow.
What did you say, Lauren?
I was kind of neutral,
Oh.
because I feel like for me there was like it was kind of the thought of like, does heated mean that you're yelling, or like, you know, or
Does it mean
talking loudly?
passionate?
Like,
Yeah.
is it like passionate, or is it just like we can have a discussion about this and it's okay if like our opinions are polar opposite, you know? So that's just kind of like, I didn't really know. And so that's kind of why I
Interesting.
kept my
Well, Kasen, I find this very fascinating.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about the process? Once you've got someone that fills out, like Lauren has now filled out the application, what happens then?
Yeah, so we have a database where we collect everyone's information. It's all anonymized. And we run some software on it to calculate their preferences. And basically, using their preferences, we're able to match each person to another person that they're most compatible with, meaning that like they wouldn't switch partners with anybody because no one would want to be with them other than their partner. That's kind of technical, but yeah.
Wow. So did you guys create this software?
Yeah, so we created the software. The method of matching is actually this economic algorithm.
Oh.
It's called deferred acceptance algorithm. And so it's something that's not brand new. I think that it's just interesting that we're applying it to users in like a dating setting. And that's something that we've been pretty like happy about, especially over in Utah. It's been really interesting.
Wow. So what's your success rate?
Yeah, I'm not sure what our success rate is. Like we've started capturing how many people go on dates from our matches. I think last time we did it, we had about a third of people went on a date. A third of the matches went on a date.
Good.
And we've had, I think, 8 marriages that we know of that have come out of our
I've seen those.
platform.
I saw those pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, and we're super happy about that. We keep hearing about new stories, and we can post them on our Instagram.
So out of 3,000, you had 1,000 who actually went on a date with the person that they were matched with. That's a pretty good number, 1,000.
That's pretty exciting.
But you don't really know how many that ended up in a second date. You know that 8 of them did because they got married, so we assume they had a second date. To it. Yeah. And so you probably haven't had the reporting back, but it would be interesting to find out of that 1,000 how many resulted in a second date.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just excited 1,000 people went on a date.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, this is fascinating. Now, just give us some idea of, is this all LDS people, or do you have some non-LDS people involved in this?
Yeah, we've opened it up to BYU and UVU students. So I think that our users, for the most part, are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but I think we have a small percentage that aren't. I don't know the exact number, but I know that it's pretty small.
Probably the same as that we have proportionately of non-members and members that go to UVU and BYU. So you probably have a few more at UVU. You still have a large percentage that are members of the church there, but and a smaller number at BYU. So it probably matches the demographic that we have living here in Utah County, I'm guessing.
It does, yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So the next question I had was, we've noticed a lot of negativity, and we talked to the people from Mutual last week, and there's a lot of negativity surrounding online dating. Mm-hmm. How do you guys deal with that? Are you worried about that, or how do you reconcile with that?
Yeah, I think the approach that we've had is to stay optimistic and upbeat about it. Like, I think dating is supposed to be fun. Yeah. Sometimes when we're in the middle of it, like, it seems like, it's like, oh, I have like a job to do. I need to swipe. I need to find the one. But I think that can make it kind of heavy and not quite as enjoyable, right? At least that's from my perspective. That's from my experience. So kind of having like an upbeat attitude about it, being really excited to meet people and feeling optimistic, I think is essential for not feeling super negative.
So basically, you have the same idea and philosophy that we do, except that you're really smart and know whatever that little theory was that you said earlier that we have no idea what you were
He
talking
sounded
about.
exactly like us. I mean, it's so cool.
Well, except for he got for the part where he's talking about this algorithm that they invented.
But it's so cool
that
that
didn't sound like us.
It's so cool that there's some other people out there who are saying, look, just get together, have a meal, sit down and talk, and have fun. Right. It's so exciting to hear.
And don't have the pressure on it that you think you're looking for the one, that you're on the hunt for your eternal companion. Because that's what makes it awkward, is because you're putting too much into it when you're not ready. You barely know the person. You don't know their interests. You don't know if you're compatible. But you're already looking at them as a potential marriage partner. And that's where the disconnect happens. And so this app seems to bypass that. It seems to be a way to
you kickstart the conversation.
Yeah.
Is that right, Kasen? You just kind of figured like you kickstart all this?
Yeah, I think it's a way of just like a shortcut, I guess. It's like, hey, here's one person we found. Based on our research and analysis, it seems like you guys would be pretty compatible. So why don't you go ahead and meet and see what happens?
Man, a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. Now, are you telling us that you used your own system here and you found the love of your life through it, or did you just happen to get engaged outside of this project?
Yeah, I tried to do it through this project. I went on dates with my matches, but I actually met, her name's Hope, and I think she was one of your students. One of your classes.
Yes. I know Hope well.
There you go.
Hope is one of my favorite people.
Awesome. She's one of mine too.
Does she still wear Crocs?
Yeah, exactly. She loves Crocs and loves cows.
Well, that's great. And so you did not meet her through this project you were doing. You met her outside of this. So how did you determine her interest and to see if they were compatible to you? What process, if you didn't use your own algorithm, what process did you use?
For Hope.
For Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just proactive. I think that's like something that I love about our culture is that we place dating and relationships at like, it's like a high priority, right? Like we find a lot of joy and meaning and happiness out of our relationships. So I tried meeting as many people as I could. And I was on some dating apps too. That's what's like really cool about dating apps is that you don't have to pick one and stick with it, right? You can use a whole bunch of them. They all complement each other. And I actually met Hope through a dating app called Hinge. Have you two ever heard of it?
Yeah, we were going to ask you about Hinge.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're big fans.
Oh, that's exciting that you guys got together on Hinge. Now, speaking of Hinge, Hinge is kind of like you guys, right? They do similar prompts and have people respond to those?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah, I guess it's similar in that you're able to give more information about yourself, right? It's like you have some pictures of yourself and it's like, hey, here's some things that I like or think about, or here's how I respond to this prompt. So yeah, in a way, I guess we're similar in that respect.
So I think Mutual is kind of leaning that way too. They talked about how they're going to talk about more prompts and opportunities to kind of get to know someone and see if there's more, if you're more compatible with them.
Now, have you noticed through this process, are people generally authentic in the way that they answer the questions, or are they answering the questions to gerrymander the system so that they get somebody
make themselves look better?
Well, make themselves look better, or answer the questions in a way that they'll get a person who answers the questions in that way. Because you could do that. You could answer these in a way that you would self-select somebody who might not be exactly like you, but somebody that you think that you want. Do you have any background, any knowledge of if that goes on?
Yeah, I think that could definitely happen. And we don't have any way to tell if that happens. I guess one thing we try to do is structure the questions so that we try to make them less obvious how you should respond. For example, in one of our previous rounds, we had this question, and it was, how attractive are you? Be honest. And it was a scale from like 1 to 7 or something. And that's a question that's very easy to game, right? It's like, I'm definitely a 7 out of 7, a 10 out of 10. Anyways, so I think that it is possible, but I think that it would end up hurting the person more than helping them, right? Because then you might get someone who's not really your type, and even if you end up going on a date, it may not go anywhere. So I think it's in your interest to respond truthfully. That way you're able to find someone who's more compatible with you.
Yeah, so true.
That's a great question.
How
good looking are you?
Right. Well, we could get back to the superficial here, but there are some people who are very good conversationalists, and there's some people who aren't. So sometimes a good conversationalist is a good match for someone who is not a good conversationalist, because they feed off of each other. So are there situations like that where maybe answering the opposite would actually make you a stronger match?
Yeah. So, and I think that goes into why we don't talk publicly about how we calculate compatibility, for example. And there's certain things we match maybe on similarity, other things we match maybe on preference, and other things that we match, I guess, like negatively correlated, for example. So it's like your example, right? Like having someone more extroverted or good conversationalist and someone who's maybe more quiet and reflective. So yeah, I would say yes, we do factor that into the way that we match people, and we vary it to make sure that people can't tell, and that way they respond truthfully.
So I guess 70 questions gives you a pretty good amount of data information about a person. So generally, they're going to find through 70 questions, you're going to find the similarities that match up with someone else.
Yep.
So I guess that's why. How long did it take you, Lauren, to take the?
It was like 15 minutes,
Oh,
maybe.
well, that's not bad.
You flew through them.
Yeah, it was really short. I mean, I also had taken it before, so I kind of knew what to expect.
So you cheated. You
copied off herself.
Yeah, I'm plagiarism on myself.
Did you get a passing grade?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. Can we guarantee Lauren a date, Kasen? Is there any way we could
help
fix,
us out here?
Fix the system.
Hook us up here.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do our best, Lauren.
Well, thank you.
Kasen, I'm just curious, what are your favorite questions on the survey? Which ones give you a laugh, and which ones do you enjoy the most, do you know?
Yeah, we had one question. I forget how it was worded exactly. I think it was a friend asks you to go to Guatemala to see a volcano with him this weekend. Would you go? And that actually came from a personal experience where one of my friends here on campus, he went and did exactly that, called me up and said, "Hey, I'm going to Guatemala tomorrow. Do you want to come with?"
I would go in a second.
Yeah,
you know,
you
that
would.
would, you know, I would be back in my bag and I'd get on the plane.
I'd be like, okay, where are we staying?
yeah. Well, I wouldn't care. I'd figure that out when we got there.
Yeah.
Interesting question. Were there any questions that you found that you had to pull out that you said, I guess maybe that question doesn't work? We have to. Were there any that you had that you didn't find that you did find that were not for prime time?
I think in the previous rounds we had a lot of political questions. Our hypothesis was that like political attitudes tends to lead to more compatible matches, but I think we asked just too many questions on politics, and it made it turn off. So we pulled a lot of those and left, I think, a couple of them in.
I think my wife and I proved that that's not right.
That's the case. So it was very polarizing during the 2020 elections, and so it would probably be difficult if you had someone who was a staunch Republican as opposed to a staunch Democrat, that they might not make a connection.
Right.
So, but you didn't have to go too much in depth on that, because you can be a staunch Republican and not like Mitt Romney, or a Democrat and like Mitt Romney and still get along.
Right.
So interesting.
I'm wondering what questions about the church did you ask, and about activity and membership? Did you ask questions like that?
Yeah, we had a couple. Let me think if I can remember some. Yeah, those questions were very hard to craft. We wanted to do it in a way that was respectful of the church, while also trying to, I guess, sift through different levels of membership, if you can call it that. I don't think I can remember one off the top of my head. Lauren, do you remember any from when you took the survey? Did you have any written down?
I think there was one where it asked about like what your view is on temple marriage.
Oh, okay.
And like how important that is to you. That was
how many primary songs can you remember?
How many can you recite word for word?
The Articles of Faith. How many?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there were any others. That was the main one that like really stood out.
Yeah, and I think, and one that I remember, I think there was one we had. It may have been this round, maybe it was the previous ones, but it was like, I will always remain a member of the church.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think and then it was like, strongly agree, strongly disagree.
Wow,
Interesting. Yeah, that you would want to know that before you, so you have a level playing field when you start your relationship.
Right.
Right.
What about what about safety? Do you guys deal with that at all, or is there some way to check? I know Bob and I are really careful about the young women and what they should and shouldn't do when they're going out on dinner. Do you guys have any way of checking that at all?
Yeah, that's something that we need to think about if we want to continue expanding this. But right now, the way we have it structured is that you have to enter in your BYU email or your UVU email.
Oh, that's great.
You're a student. And I think so it's only students right now, and I think that's like the best proxy we have for helping people like stay safe. Making sure that we have safe people on the platform.
At least you know where they're coming from.
Yeah. It's probably no different than the advice that we give, is to meet at the place. And when there's someone that you don't know, you don't really want to get in a car with them because you don't know them. But if you meet at a place,
right,
and you can visit and talk and have dinner, and then you leave in your car, then you've dramatically increased your safety as having someone pick you up.
Right.
Because then you're in control of someone. So it's not too different than what we recommend. It's just that you're finding each other in a more sophisticated way.
Yeah, I think that's good advice to meet at the place. I think that's really smart. It also gives you control of how long you want to stay on the date if you're not having a good time.
We always we always say an hour.
Yeah.
For that first meet, spend an hour, and that's all you really need.
Yeah, if you don't know in the first hour, then you're not going to know.
Yeah. And if it's going good, go 2 hours.
Yeah. So are you say, now you talk about rounds. You say the first round. So let me make sure I understand that. Do you do this in rounds where you collect data and then match people up? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've done 3 rounds, and what that means is we basically launched 3 surveys.
Okay.
And each round, everyone takes the survey, and then using that data from that survey, we match everyone. And we're hoping to do this more consistently. Like we had two. The first one launched end of 2020. We had one Valentine's Day 2021. And now we're doing our third one, which has been Valentine's Day 2022. We're hoping to be a little more consistent here on out.
So do you match everyone? Does everyone get matched?
Yeah, everyone gets matched. I think it's like 99.99% of people get matched.
Wow.
Exciting.
And a third of them take your advice and go on the date.
Yep, yeah. According to our feedback.
So
seems to be about a third, and I think they'll have they all rate that the date went really well too. So they have like high satisfaction with the date.
Now, if Lauren doesn't, if she gets matched and she's not really a connection with this guy, will she get matched again? Or does she have to wait till the next round?
She'll have to wait till the next round.
Quit being so picky, Lauren.
Yeah, just go out. Give the guy a chance. So how often do you do rounds? Is it just every year? Is it just every Valentine's Day?
Yeah, so my whole team, we're a bunch of students, and we're working on this in addition to our studies, and we're trying to make this more consistent. And maybe I'll ask you guys, what do you think would be a good frequency? We've been thinking between every month or maybe every couple of months or every semester. What do you think would be useful?
Well, if you go a month without a date, that would be kind of a long time. If you went a year without a date, that would be a very long time. If you went 2 years, that's a mission.
Yes.
And so,
and you probably already have done that.
And you probably already done that, so you know what that's like, and you don't do that again.
Well, I think I would recommend every month that you send something out. And that's because Bob and I know that they probably aren't going out all that much.
Well, then you augment that with your own,
your own just dinners.
Yes, your own just dinners, and maybe other apps and things. But see, at least once a month, if you got matched up with somebody who had a connection with you, that would be, I think people would look forward to that, if it was once a month.
It's exciting.
It's almost like a subscription.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Yeah, there you go. You get a date in the mail.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think this is just fabulous.
Yes.
And I hope that I had one more question before we let you go. Is this you get paid to do this? Do we have to pay to fill out a survey?
Yeah, no, I think the survey is free, and we give you a free match. And we have it calculated that we can give you more matches as well, and those ones you pay for. And that's just to cover the cost of our time, I guess.
Smart.
We spend actually a ridiculous amount of time working on this, and so we're trying to figure out a way to help our users out and have them, I guess, sustain the project.
Well, this is super exciting.
Yes, it is. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much.
I love the idea that you're putting people together, encouraging them to get together and go out to dinner, to talk and have fun. I think that's what this podcast is really all about.
It is. Yeah.
And it's exciting when we hear someone else is doing the same exact thing that we're doing.
Right. Only smarter.
They're a lot smarter. Well, everyone, this has been Kasen Stephensen. He is the Instagram sensation, like I called him earlier, of Matchmaker Provo. And so all you guys that are listening, if you haven't given it a chance,
why not?
Go out and fill out the survey and see what happens. Have fun. If nothing else, you get to meet someone, right, Lauren?
Yeah. Well, and it closes, Friday? I think Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
This Friday.
So hurry up.
Get
it going. I'm going to really, Kasen, I'm going to push this in my classes next week, and I'm really going to get them excited about doing this. So, well, thank you so much. Yeah, is it next week or this?
It's the 4th.
The 4th.
The 4th of March.
Okay, so we have next week to promote it.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, Kasen, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
And we had a great time talking to you. Just a reminder, everyone, that you can look for us. It's just Dinner YSA on Instagram. And while you're there, check out Matchmaker.
Are we Instagram Provo sensations?
We are working towards that. So if we can follow Kasen's lead, we'll get there. So
all right, Kasen, help us out.
We also have a Facebook page. It's just Dinner on Facebook. We got a lot of people putting stories up, dating stories, which is kind of exciting. So hey, and also when you're listening to this podcast, leave some comments. Be nice. And leave comments. Also, if you have questions or you want to make comments or you're interested, go to itsjustdinnerYSA@gmail and get a hold of us. So again, thanks, Kasen. We really appreciate your time. And hey, everyone, just go have fun, will you?